Hello and welcome to another Webcam Wednesday, and these are the videos in which I do one take on a webcam because I haven't got time to edit them or whatever. There was a report on the news today about a study where bike racks were not monitored but had an eye sticker put on them, and it was found apparently that it reduced theft of bikes by 20%. In this country, we have a lot of CCTV cameras and other forms of surveillance. I had a look outside actually, and the one that's on the corner has actually disappeared. I don't know what that's about. And I suppose the reason for that is that people feel safer with them around. But of course, it is a dystopian Orwellian nightmare. Now, if you go back a few decades, what you would find is that people didn't have CCTV cameras, partly because they didn't have the technology, but also because they believed in a vengeful, judgmental God. And as a result, they didn't need to have the idea that human beings were monitoring them because they thought some terrible God was monitoring them who would send them to hell if they committed a sin, in the same way as they might be sent to prison if they committed a crime today. This is not the kind of God I believe in, but I do think it's an illustration of how religious belief can be a positive influence on society, because if people did believe that, they would end up policing themselves. However, that doesn't make it right. For a start, crime is not the same as morality, and also God's command is not the same as morality, and also God doesn't behave like that. So what actually happens is there is a theory called theological voluntarism, which is the belief that God's commands automatically make things right. That means, presumably, that human beings don't have a conscience, that they only do things because they are coerced into doing them. I don't think that's true, partly because we're made in the image of God and partly because it doesn't correspond to my internal world. And what I think God actually does is reports on right and wrong, and from a position of infinite wisdom, because morality is in fact rational and accordance to nature, in accordance with Stoicism, in fact, that is the correct account of morality. So, in that situation, God is reporting on what's right and wrong and not telling people what to do as such. Neither does God place things in our way so that we will be punished as a result of making the wrong decision or sinning. So getting back to the idea of surveillance, I always find it a little bit odd that atheists are often quite liberal people who are opposed to the idea of surveillance, when in fact we could be surveilling ourselves in terms of what goes on in our minds, and then you wouldn't need any of that surveillance. However, I suppose what they could do is build a complicated technological machine that makes perfect judgments and is able to survey the world in an entirely just manner. This is a little bit like the idea of drones detecting human beings through computer software, which enables them to kill the people that need to be killed and leave the people that don't need to be killed alone. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that you would be able to trust. However, God you are able to trust because God is infinitely wise and all that kind of thing, although of course he may not exist. But the other thing about this is that if somebody doesn't surveil you, then God will. But if you don't believe in God or you don't actually trust God, then what actually happens is authoritarian societies will introduce a load of cameras, load of phone monitoring stuff, and that's what's going to happen. And so why is it that people who are atheists, who appear to be liberal or left-wing, actually seem to want that kind of society to exist? Because there is an easy way of getting rid of all that, which is to believe in God, although it would be quite an authoritarian and self-policing thing to do, which wouldn't necessarily be very positive. So that's what I'm going to say today. I also was going to talk about Bell's theorem in this context, but I've sort of run out of time. So if you like this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. If you dislike it, please tell me why so I can improve, and I'll see you tomorrow.